Deep Work: Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World by Newport. Unlock your full potential by engaging in focused, deep work. Think about it. How many notifications, emails, and texts do you receive during a typical workday? Probably quite a few. But have you considered how this affects your productivity and concentration? Chances are you will be more distracted and might overlook important details. In a world where technology advances faster than ever before, it is essential to develop the skills and ability to focus on one task at a time without interruptions. This is where deep work comes in. What is deep work, and how can you achieve it? Before we begin, why don't we start by turning off your notifications? Multitasking and distractions harm productivity. Many people believe that doing multiple things at once is the best way to use their time, but this idea is incorrect. Multitasking does not lead to increased productivity. Sophie Leroy, a business professor at the University of Minnesota, conducted research in 2009 to explain why. She found that when we switched from one task to another, our attention remains on the first task for a period of time. This means we can only partially focus on the second task, which negatively impacts our performance. In her experiment, one group, Group A, worked on word puzzles and was interrupted to review resumes and make hypothetical hiring decisions, while the other group, Group B, completed their puzzles before moving on to the resumes. Leroy gave a quick test between tasks to see how many puzzle keywords were still on participants' minds. The outcome? Group A was more focused on the puzzle and less focused on the crucial task of hiring the right person, because Group A participants knew they were going to have to go back to the puzzle. In conclusion, multitasking is not beneficial for productivity. Constant electronic connection can also have negative effects. Keeping social media and email tabs open in your browser may seem harmless, but simply seeing the notifications can disrupt your focus. Even if you do not address them or open them, just seeing them, knowing they are there, can disrupt you. For example, a 2012 study by McKinsey, a consulting firm, found that the average worker spends over 60% of the workweek using online communication tools and browsing the internet, with 30% of their workweek devoted to reading and responding to emails. In these findings, workers reported feeling busier than ever, completing small tasks and managing information gives us a sense of accomplishment, a feeling of busyness, but it actually prevents us from truly focusing on our core work. There are various strategies to achieve deep work, and all require intention. Now that you are aware of the obstacles of deep work, how can you overcome them? While there is no one-size-fits-all solution, here are some strategies you might find helpful. 1. The monastic approach. This strategy involves eliminating all distractions and secluding yourself like a monk. 2. The bimodal approach. This involves setting a long, clearly defined period for focused work, while leaving the rest of your time free for other activities. 3. The rhythmic approach. This involves forming a habit of doing deep work in blocks, such as 90-minute sessions, and using a calendar to track your progress. 4. The journalistic strategy. This involves taking advantage of unexpected free time in your daily routine to engage in off-the-cuff, deep work. No matter which technique you choose, remember that they should be methodical, not random. The key difference between being in the zone and deep work is intention. While you might find yourself in the zone randomly, periodically, by chance, deep work is much more intentional and planned. This is why it is crucial to establish rituals to prepare your mind for it. One ritual might involve defining your space. This can be as simple as putting a "Do Not Disturb" sign on your office door, or going to a public library or coffee shop. This can be especially useful if you work in an open space. Consider J.K. Rowling, who stayed in a 5-star hotel to escape her busy home environment and handle the pressure while finishing her last Harry Potter book. This allowed her to somewhat seclude herself and focus on her deep work. Another ritual is setting boundaries, such as disconnecting from the internet or turning off your phone. Lastly, ensure your deep work is sustainable by providing your body what it needs, whether that is light exercise, proper nutrition, or a little caffeine boost here and there. Without the necessary mental energy, you will not be able to maintain deep work. Focus your mind and be mindful of your technology use. In today's world, our brains are often drawn to distractions. It is common to see people constantly on their screens, playing games, messaging, or endlessly refreshing their social media feeds. The issue is that our brains are naturally wired to be easily distracted. From an evolutionary perspective, distractions could represent risks or opportunities. As a result, concentrating deeply on one task is not necessarily what we are built to do and can be challenging. However, productive meditation can help retrain your brain to focus. Here's how. Use otherwise unproductive moments, like walking your dog, showering, or commuting, to think about a problem you need to address without letting your mind wander. Begin by asking yourself questions that identify different aspects of the problem. Once you have pinpointed a specific target, ask action-oriented questions like, what do I need to do to achieve my goal? Consider this a rigorous workout routine for your brain to help improve your focus. Being mindful of your intentions when using social media and the internet is also crucial. For example, if you use Facebook to stay connected with friends, focus on communicating with them and, when possible, make an effort to spend more time with them in person. If that is not feasible, try going cold turkey. Quit social media for 30 days, and afterward, ask yourself, would the past 30 days have been better with social media in your life? Did anyone notice or care that you stopped using it? If your answer was no to both these questions, there is really no reason to be on social media if it is distracting you. But if you answered yes to one or both of the questions, it might be best to return to it with a more mindful approach. Scheduling both work and leisure time is crucial for recharging your energy. After a long day at work or running errands, many of us just want to do nothing. This often means having no specific time slots for completing tasks. Things are a little more casual. However, what that usually ends up meaning is us stuck in the same routine every night, watching TV, scrolling through our phones, or staring at our computer screens. When it is finally bedtime, we feel even more tired than when we got home, leaving us drained for the next day. How can you avoid this situation? By scheduling everything you do, you will become more mindful of how you are spending your time. At the beginning of each workday, create a schedule divided into blocks of at least 30 minutes each. This schedule should include both work and personal tasks, such as relaxing after work, eating, or catching up on emails. It is natural for your schedule to change from day to day. If this happens, simply rearrange your blocks. The goal is not to strictly follow your plan exactly, but rather to raise awareness of how you are spending your time. Are you going to write in a 4-hour block to watch TV and scroll social media? This means it is also important to plan your evenings and weekends in advance to work towards specific goals. For example, try leaving your work at work by setting boundaries, like not checking work-related email after a certain time. This will help give your mind the space it needs to unwind. Lastly, planning your evenings and weekends around activities, not just the TV and internet, can help rejuvenate your mind and body. This could be reading, exercising, or spending quality time with loved ones. Distractions are everywhere in today's world, where multitasking has become our default state, and it is harming our productivity. The good news is that we can regain control of our time by eliminating distractions and allowing our brains to focus deeply on one task at a time. This concludes deep work.